Hello guys and welcome back to another video. I'm sure you've looked at the leaderboards a couple times and saw those really fast scores or those fast times on all of the dungeons like Foggy Prison, White Castle, Naraka, Twisted Marsh, and Tree of Heroes, and you're just like, how in the world did they get that fast of a time? Well, I'm going to show you a couple methods here for a couple different raids, the higher ones, on how we can get those extremely fast times. Now, as you can see, we've gotten some extremely fast times here on the screen. There have been faster times, but these are times that are in the faster of times. And I want to be able to bring you the teams that we are using in order to get those times and some of the little tips and strategies used along the way to make your dungeon clears significantly faster. Now, I do want to preface and say that this is so much easier with a consistent team. Preferably friends of yours, perhaps guild members, that you do this on a consistent, even perhaps on a daily basis. I have a squad that I run and do dungeons with every morning, and we go blow through all of the raids. So a consistent team like that is going to help you a lot when trying to pull off some of these speed runs. But you could just try it out with some of your guild mates for the heck of it. Try to get a really fast time just to see, just for your own sake. All right, so let's start out with Naraka. So I'm going to pan down here, and we've got Naraka. So I'm going to show you first. We've got the layout here is your typical Tiana, Verd, and damage dealer. In this case, we've got on the left side, Kaigi's got the Naran Ha, Verd, and Tiana combination. And then Bun Bun has the Argon, Verd, Tiana combination. Both of these extremely high damage combinations. The Naranha and the Argon bring slightly different debuffs, which allows us to have more debuffs overall on the boss, letting the Naranha and Argon put out way more damage. Over on the right, I'm definitely not as high damage, but I'm playing more of a support role. On the right, you'll see myself with the Megan. Megan is actually kind of nice in comparison to a typical Bastet in this place. Megan brings both the attack up and attack speed up, which is kind of nice to have both of those. You also see I have my Argon for a little extra damage, as well as on the right, King. King is a really nice monster for these kind of fast speed runs. And the reason why is he brings a couple things in his kit. He doesn't do any damage, but he does bring a lot of debuffs, which is good for Naranha and Argon. His skill 1 brings resistance down, as well as crit damage taken up, which is huge for our big damage dealers. His second skill is Oblivion and attack down, which is more debuffs. And then lastly, you have resistance down and crit damage taken up again, as well as accuracy up for making sure that everybody else is landing their debuffs. So King is really cool, brings a lot of different debuffs and one buff that's really going to allow you, which is really going to allow your Naranha and your Argon to put out way more damage. All right, so I'll go ahead and shut up and let you see the run. All right, so we're going to march in here. Notice the different compositions are still the same. We're going to come in here and start out. I believe I typically start with a Megan buff to get us started. And you'll see on the screen that there's a lot of green clouds, a lot of green smoke. That is Bun Bun and Kaigi charging up their ultimate using the Tiana skill 2. So they're on their Tiana Soul Linked and they're charging up that ultimate, so that way they are ready to pop the Verd ultimate. You'll see it here in just a second. We're gonna get some debuffs on here, and there goes the pop. So a couple ultimates being popped, and then they switch over to their Argon and Naranha and just lay down the damage. This is a little bit easier with the Kina there, because when Kina pops her ult, the healing is a little bit helpful, but if you're doing this fast enough, you won't need any healing. Honestly, you probably could have brought, instead of an Argon here, for myself as the support, I probably didn't need to bring an Argon. My Argon didn't even do that much damage because I was mostly on King, making sure we had those debuffs. But you could probably bring some form of a healer in place of the Argon. All right, next up on the docket is Twisted Marsh. Twisted Marsh is a really fun raid, in my opinion, but we can completely skip pretty much all of the mechanics, and we can do this in about 47 seconds. And I'll show you how we do it. So to start out, we have similar compositions, the Naranha, Vertiheel, Tiana, and then the Argon, Vertiheel, Tiana. Myself, I am running the support, right? And I'm running Juno, Argon, and King. Again, in this situation as support, I'm typically not on my Argon, so I'm not doing as much damage with my Argon. I could replace that with some more support to support my other damage dealers, but this worked out pretty well. I will say that Kaigi, at right when he ultimates or right before he ultimates or gets his ultimate charge, Kaigi is going to switch out the Tiana for a Windy, and we'll look at Windy here in a second. Windy is really cool. Windy is very popular for these world bosses and raids and these big damage teams. Windy specifically, let's take a look at Windy here. Windy specifically has a couple things that are useful to us. His skill 1 is the crit damage up. Crit damage up for 16 seconds. Defense up is always nice to help us survive a little bit, but the crit damage up is going to allow our Argons and Naran-Has to do a ton more damage to this boss. There's also attack speed down, as well as a little bit of damage from the Windy. He also does a shield and defense up every now and then as a part of his passive. So just kind of supports your team, especially since we're not bringing a ton of healers. The shields and the defense up supports your team a little bit, but the main thing out of Windy that we like is the crit damage up, and there's not very many monsters that do that. Windy is really one of the main monsters that does that is used on a regular basis. Again, on my side, I've got the Juno, the Argon, and the King. The Juno is primarily going to be your best healer in this particular instance. Shushu can be a little bit troublesome. Normally, you would bring that for a longer match because what happens is she will sometimes do her switch, and I'll show a clip of that right now. And it really slows down the run or could even cause you to fail when immunity is up and you're not able to lay down all of those defense breaks and all those other debuffs. So Juno is really nice. We're being able to heal and cleanse things without having to put up immunity or any buffs that the boss can steal. Also, Juno does have her strip as well if there's any issues with a buff on the boss. And of course, we have King. King is really nice, lands tons of debuffs, as well as the resistance down and the crit damage taken up. All right, so as you can see, we're coming up to the boss here. We're laying down the debuffs. You'll see that the Tianas are doing their thing. They are building up their ultimates. That's that green cloud or green smoke on the ground. The Tianas are building up their ultimates. I am playing support with Juno by just doing an occasional cleanse when there's big swaps like this. And she's going to go into snake phase. This is the big difference. Sit here and tank the snake phase. Land your debuffs, me as King, and then just start spamming your Argon and Naran-Ha. You'll notice that right before we went into that phase, the Kaigi switched out the Tiana for the Windy and put up that buff, the crit damage up buff, which is going to really help out the damage of the Argon and the Naran-Ha. Again, it's the same concept. Tiana builds up the ultimate, and Vertiheal does the ultimate, right? Make sure Vertiheal is on Soul Link in order to do the ultimate. And then you switch to your Naran-Ha or Argon and just lay down the damage. All right, so that is Twisted Marsh, and that is a 46, 47 second run. See if you can complete that one with your buddies. All right, so the last one we're going to look at is Tree of Heroes. Tree of Heroes is a fun and sometimes frustrating raid, but let's start out with the screen that you see here. There isn't any skipping mechanics for this particular raid. It's really just about getting it done as quickly as allowable. We can't skip any of the phases. There's nothing that we can skip. We just have to do lots of damage, as well as do these couple small things to allow us to be able to make it a little bit faster. Okay, let's look at our monster choices here. To start out, you got myself playing a little bit more of a support. We're all kind of doing our general thing. You've got myself, I've got my Aerial that I love bringing, my Argon to do damage, and then my Vertiheal, which helps me with the ultimate, right? The ultimate is going to be extremely important on Vertiheal, as well as that crit resistance down debuff on the boss. That's very important for the fire stage, as well as the final TOH boss. Bun Bun is bringing his Argon, he's bringing his Vertiheal, and he's bringing his Nikki. The Nikki is not a necessity. It's nice, but it's not a necessity. The Nikki brings a cleanse, a cleanse as well as a heal on her first skill, and her third skill brings an attack up, much like a Megan or a Bastet. That attack up is really nice because it allows the team to do a lot more damage. Kaigi over here is bringing the Vertiheal, the Naran-Ha, and the Windy. The Windy is nice for that little bit of extra support. Notice he's not bringing any healers. The Windy brings defense up as well as shields, and then Kaigi is the healing himself as Kina. So obviously these are a little bit higher level players. They're not the highest level players, I'll tell you that. Like their stats are good, but they're not like crazy whale stats, right? So this is doable for you guys as well. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into TOH. I'm not going to really say much here. You'll see that they land a lot of damage, and I'm going to speed through some of this. They're going to do the regular mechanics as usual. The main thing to make this a little bit faster is during the wind phase here, and you're going to see it's going to come up here in just a second. The boss is going to go up into the sky, and he's going to do his divine punishment, and that's the point where the little green spots happen and they follow you, and you'll be able to go around the blue tower and destroy the blue tower with those green dots. Normally, this takes 2 phases to do this. It takes 2 times to do this. The key here is, you can see across the screen here, both Kaigi and Bun Bun are working together, stacked directly on top of each other, moving around the blue tower, and then Kaigi is going to run out and let Bun Bun go ahead and finish up. That allows you to get at least that 1 more green dot from Kaigi in order to be able to destroy the tower the first phase. Now that the tower is destroyed, all we need to focus on is finishing that damage off and getting him to 80% or to getting him to 80%. The mechanics are the same all the way through. There's nothing else skippable. That is the main thing that you have to look out for, is trying to get that blue tower, the water tower, down during the wind phase. Everything else is the same. Everything else is the same. Getting into the minion phases, just make sure you have your the right characters or the right summoners on the right monsters, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Make sure you go to that. If you have an Orbia with Strip or someone with the Naran-Ha, they should probably be taking the Water Undine. It's a little bit easier with the block beneficial effect, or the Orbia who has Strip plus block beneficial effect on their Light Staff. So just kind of plan accordingly. Again, this isn't like something you do with randos. This isn't something you just random queue and sort of do these strategies. These are typically people in your guild, people that you run these raids with on a more frequent basis. So as you can see, the final end here was 3 minutes and 10 seconds was the fastest we did. Doing TOH, doing this method. Sometimes you'll get it a little bit slower. Sometimes you'll get a little bit faster. It depends on how quickly you're able to clear each one of those RGB phases. All right, guys, I hope this breakdown sort of helped you out figuring out how you might want to do these speed runs. As you know, it is very efficient to go through all of the raids every single day, and we don't want to be wasting our time every single day doing these things and doing them slowly, right? So if we have to do them, we'd rather do them quickly. So if you are able to get a consistent group together and do these raids quickly, you can knock these raids out in like 10 minutes with all of the strategies, the team monsters that I've shown you here in this video. If you have any questions or any suggestions on swap outs for monsters or other strategies that you'd like to add to this conversation, make sure to leave a comment down below and let us know of those strategies or monsters that might come in handy for other users. All right, guys, as usual, I thank you for watching. Like this video, subscribe it if you want to keep seeing more content. There is a Discord link down below if you want to chat Summoners War or have general questions. As always, guys, my name is TopherSmurf, telling you to keep on gaming.